We changed to hardpack for the last 4 GPs of the 2022 season. And in MXGP, Tim Geiser arrives to Uddevalla with a small chance of wrapping up his 5th world title this weekend. But the Slovenian will need a little help from the other title contenders if he's to close the deal here. Will HRC's lead rider be made to wait another week to get his hands on the MXGP gold plate? Let's find out at the MXGP of Sweden.
Everybody, and welcome back to Uddevalla in Sweden. Round 15 of the FIM Motocross World Championship with me, Paul Malin, and Jason Thomas from Fly Racing. And with just 4 rounds remaining, Tim Geiser and Team HRC are surely just counting down the days to that 5th world title. The Slovenian, who has a 122-point advantage over Jeremy Seewer, will be looking to add more to his tally today, but with 200 points still up for grabs, the title chase not quite over just yet. Last time out in Belgium, neither of the top 3 of Geiser, Seewer or Prado made the podium, with Seewer 5th, Geiser 7th and Prado in 8th place. And of the riders lining up today, only 4 have stood on the top step here. Geiser with 2 wins, Jeremy Seewer, Koldenhoff and Roman Fevre all with 1 apiece. So no doubt it will be another fascinating contest here in Uddevalla. It is round 15 and we're live as always. There is the view from above. That long start straight, dipping into that first turn before banking up to the outside. It's just over 1,600 meters long here, and there is a lot more moisture in the ground today than there was yesterday. The racetrack looks a little bit like this on paper. Nice and flat, but anything but that at the moment. Nice lines starting to form, some gnarly braking bumps. And as we saw from the qualifying race yesterday, and we'll see from the MXGP qualifying race highlight shortly how different the track was yesterday to what it is today. But it's a little bit chilly out. It's grey, overcast. We had rain during the MX2 first race a few moments ago, but that has subsided. You can see a bit of blue sky bursting through the clouds. So hopefully conditions will remain the same for this first MXGP race. Right, let's go behind the scenes at Red Bull KTM. We caught up with Jeffrey Hurlings, amongst others, in the team.
I had a photo shoot crash in the 1st of February. The doctor who made the surgery didn't make the surgery too well. My recovery took longer than expected. With that, I missed almost half the championship, and then we decided, as I had a fracture in my right foot as well in 2019, which needed another surgery but would take a little bit of time to recover. We decided to do it then, and at the same time remove the plate what they put in to my left calcaneus from the fracture. So actually it's been a bumpy road and it took a while, but I decided to sit out this year to get as healthy as I can. I could be racing, but not where I want to be at, like at the top level. Then I prefer to not race and just come back next year in good ways. So everybody has to wait till March next year to see some bullet action.
Our focus at the moment, even towards the end of the season, is still on Tom mainly. Okay, we have Jeffrey healing up and hoping he can return to competition, or no, let's say to training soon. But of course, Tom is our guy on the field out there fighting for the championship, and we're actually mainly focusing on him, helping him to finish this business before he leaves to the US.
This year it's pretty cool. I think the battle is tough with Iago. We move a lot. Some race he wins, some race I win, and it's pretty tough to be honest. But we have 4 races to go. Iago has a little advantage on me, 23 points. But you know, it's not much, so he also have a lot of pressure on like me, and I think we are still really close from each other. So I think it's gonna be pretty cool to learn.
The only advantage of being behind in the standings, that's that you don't have to think too much anymore. You don't have to calculate anymore. Just go out there, have fun, and race.
I start the season alone. It's like this. I need to do it alone, and yeah, it's a little bit more pressure, I think, but I managed to do it, I think.
I don't feel like that puts more pressure. It makes it somehow more interesting. Even you can work on details more. You can take more time for small things.
I like a lot this weekend in Sweden. I won my first GP 3 or 4 years ago, so it was a nice weekend for me. After we have Finland, France, and Turkey, I really like the track there. So no, I think it's for GP pretty good for me, yes. Joel, you know, he told me like not thinking too much. I think it's pretty important. If you start to have too much in the head, then you can lose a lot.
We are the hunters, so we just need to go wide open. That's the advice I give him.
It's important for me to finish nice. It's the last 4 races I'm gonna do in MX2 before moving to the US. You know, I want to make good the team. They are working so much for me. I want to make it good for them, for myself, for everybody who works so hard for me. So yeah, for sure, I want to win as much as possible.
Welcome back to Uddevalla. MXGP riders making their way back from their sighting lap. Interesting interviews there with Joel Smeets and Tom Vial, of course, Jeffrey Hurlings. Before we go anywhere, though, Lisa was down on the grid. She caught up with Tim Geiser from Team HRC, but before that, the monster and his Yamaha rider, Maxime Renault.
Before MXGP race 1, let's catch up with Yamaha MXGP factory rider Maxime Renault. Maxime, I really want to speak to you about the qualifying. It did look like you were struggling a little bit to find your flow rhythm, like you were maybe overriding the track a bit. Just tell us, what was the problem from your side?
Yeah, yesterday the quality didn't went great. I didn't have the best start, and then on the first laps I struggled to find my rhythm. You know, I was just getting passing by left, right, so was a little bit struggled to find my lines, and then I blocked a little bit on the back of Ruben Fernandez, and then when I could pass him, I could get a better rhythm, and at the end the 4 last laps were really good. So looking forward to have a good start today, hopefully, and then make a good moto.
I mean, you just told me then that the start is key. Obviously, start's always important no matter where you are, but why here? Why this track?
Especially here, because I believe that the track is developing a little bit one main line, you know, and when you come out, then you get under attack from the back, so you can also get past like this. So yeah, it's really important to get that good start, to have a clear vision and make some sprint laps in the beginning, and make the gap with the other riders.
Have a good race. Thanks, Maxime. Team HRC, Tim Geiser's almost ready to start, but let's chat to him about, I want to talk about time practice, Tim. We saw you have an off, you crashed. What happened? How are you feeling? And also, how tough was the qualifying session?
Yeah, on time practice, they put quite a lot of water on the track, you know, and was quite slippery, quite sketchy in that section over there on the waves. Yeah, just get out of the shape a little bit, you know, get sideways, quite high-speed crash. But anyway, I'm thankful that, you know, I just feel a little bit sore in my wrist and in my my fingers, toes on the foot. But anyway, it's good, you know. It was not easy, definitely, but I will try to give my best today. Good starts are really important, especially on a track like it is here in Uddevalla. You know, it's not easy to pass. So yeah, just want to give 100%.
And obviously, we've got a little bit of rainfall. I think more rain is predicted a bit later on. How is that going to shape things up?
We're going to see. I mean, I think a little bit of rain should not be too bad, you know, but if it starts raining a lot, you know, it's going to get slippery, so we hope not.
Well, take care and have a good race. Thanks, Tim. Okay, good luck to all the guys. It's time for MXGP Race 1.
Riders were led out on their sighting lap by Mitch Evans, followed by Tim Geiser, because it was a very good day for Team HRC yesterday, with Evans winning over his teammate. So we'll see the qualifying highlights in a few moments' time. But before we go anywhere, we will take a look at the championship standings, how they line up coming into round 15. And Tim Geiser with a 122-point advantage over Jeremy Seewer. He is 18 clear of Jorge Prado, and 23 further back we have Glenn Koldenhoff, with Maxim Renault just one behind his teammate. Ruben Fernandez, good to see him back in action this weekend. He's almost 100 points behind Renault. Then we've got Brian Bogus, the winner of the Grand Prix last time out in Belgium, don't forget. Calvin Verlander and Paul Jonas and Jeremy Van Horbeke. Jonas back in action for standing construct Husqvarna here today. Here's what happened in the qualifying race yesterday then. Jason Thomas with me from Fly Racing. Jason, it was an interesting qualifying race, wasn't it? Because obviously Jeremy Seewer got off to a flying start. He crossed the line first over the whole shot line. And from there, we just thought maybe he was going to check out. But he got kind of eaten up pretty quickly, didn't he? By Tim, by Calvin Verlander, and one or two others.
Yeah, it wasn't a great race for Jeremy after a really fast qualifying session time. I kind of expected him to check out. As you look at his results over the last few weeks, the confidence is there. And I wondered, it looked like all the Yamaha guys were struggling a bit. So was it a bike setting thing that maybe they corrected for today? And that's a great thing about Sunday, you get to start over.
Just on board there with Ruben Fernandez, and this was Mitch Evans diving down the inside of Jeremy Seewer to take over the lead. Now, he crashed in the qualifying race in Belgium a couple of weekends ago, and obviously he was mindful of that. But Tim Geiser then, this is how he found his way through that wave section, up the inside of Seewer. Just kept him to the outside, so it was a Honda 1-2, Team HRC 1-2. Coming through pretty quickly as well was Calvin Verlander with that move on Seewer.
Yeah, pretty uneventful race for the Honda boys, just kind of rode by themselves, and then Calvin was by himself as well, and that's how you want Saturdays to be. You don't want any drama. You see Paul Jonas for one of two crashes that he would have in this qualifying race.
He was in 7th at that point in the race. He picked himself up and fell again from 17th later on. He crossed the line in 22nd position. Jorge Prado eventually got the better of Fernandez to move himself into 7th place, and then went after Glenn Koldenhoff, just ahead of him there, look, on the 259. See how the circuit conditions were pretty tricky, though. Jed Beaton, he fell, and when he picked himself up, clutch lever was completely broken, so he managed to salvage 23rd, as Renault and Guillaume both burst down the inside of Ruben Fernandez. That was the second crash for Paul Jonas. But the gap was always around about 2 seconds between Mitch Evans on the 43 and Tim Geiser on the 243. And we wondered whether Geiser would push, would he need to? Well, the answer was an emphatic no. Evans hung on to take his first ever win in MXGP and his first qualifying win as well from Geiser and Verlander. Good job, Mitch. So let's see how the riders line up then for this MXGP first race. It'll be the same later on as well. You can already see the Team HRC guys over there on the right-hand side, left for them down on the grid. Mitch Evans on pole for the first time in his MXGP career, ahead of his teammate Tim Geiser. Calvin Verlander goes to the line third, ahead of Roman Fevre, Jorge Prado, Jeremy Seewer, Glenn Koldenhoff, and Maxim Renault. And then we've got Valentin Guillaume, Ruben Fernandez, the Jerry Man, Albi Ferrato, Brian Bogus, Brent Van Donnick, Henry Jacobi, and Jordi Tixier. 34 riders made it over the line in the qualifying race. Ben Watson was 17th, ahead of Mattia Guadagnini, Alvin Osland. Home round for him, Tom Koch and Danny Carlson as well, who's had 3 years out with a back injury, but good to see him back here this weekend. Mitch Evans takes his pace. Mitch Evans takes his place behind the gate on pole for the first time for Team HRC, and we don't have to go too far to find his teammate right there next to him. They will line up in gates 1 and 2 for this race here in Uddevalla.
Yeah, just next to them was Calvin Verlander, who finished third. So they go 1, 2, 3 on the inside gates here. Pretty interesting. Obviously, you can see how valuable it goes left and then left again. So they're trying to be a little bit safe here. But you wonder if somebody's going to be able, like Prado, will be able to sweep in from that outside and maybe grab this whole shot.
Calvin Verlander in gate 3. But interestingly, Roman Fevre, Jorge Prado, Jeremy Seewer have gone a little bit further over, because Maxim Renault, who qualified in 8th place, has actually gone next to Verlander in gate 4. So Jeremy Seewer, has he started from a similar position to where he did for the qualifying race? And will it bag him another whole shot? Be interesting to find that one out, won't it? There's Jorge Prado, the king of the whole shot so far this year. He has 15 under his belt so far. And what have we got? 8 races left?
Romain Febvre. There, last time we were here, had an unfortunate injury, so I'm sure that's lurking somewhere in the back of his mind, but you have to think he's going to get into the mix to win one of these soon.
I think Romain Febvre yesterday, I think it was just one of those situations where maybe he just kind of, he got himself into that third place. I think he was happy with how things went. The Fly Racing 15-second board goes up. That'll be followed by the 5-second board, and these riders 30 minutes plus 2 laps. The MXGP first race here at Sweden. Uddevalla. Who will it be that grabs that all-important foxhole shot as we get a gate drop here? Looking over to the right-hand side, it's one of the Yamahas. Well, all 3 Yamahas going to the first turn, line astern. But around the outside, it was Valandron or Guillot, actually. Valentin Guillot with a foxhole shot. But already...
Look at all the Yamahas, just a wave of blue out front.
Already, Valentin Guillot getting passed by one of the factory Yamahas. 2 of them now, because over the hill for the first time, 259. Glenn Coldenhoff it is who leads the way.
I believe is that Renault or Coldenhoff?
So 259 is leading. Oh, Renault, it's actually, yeah, Maxim Renault leading the way. The 959, the 259. And then we've got Siwa in second. Coldenhoff in third. Guillot fourth. And the first of the Hondas is Geiser there, 243 up the inside, alongside Valentin Guillot as they charge uphill through that wave section. But it is Renault, Siwa and Coldenhoff for 1, 2, 3 for Yamaha. Geiser not wasting any time, charges down the inside of Valentin Guillot, gets himself into that 4th place.
Well, Louis Boster's probably beside himself with happiness here, seeing all 3 of his guys running around at the front here. Geiser putting himself in a good position, and with the big points lead that Geiser has, he doesn't have to do anything drastic. You know, he can let the races come to him, just gather points and try to wrap this championship up. If the wins present themselves, then great, but he doesn't have to force anything.
Up onto the plateau, Maxim Renault leading the way. Siwa there in second. Just trying to look at the differences here. So obviously you got Siwa with red boots, white boots for his 2 teammates, but a black helmet for Coldenhoff there in the background. In fact, they all look identical, don't they? It's very, very difficult to pick them out, but Valentin Guillot, he'll relish being up at the sharp end here. He's in 5th position on that IXS Hostetler Yamaha. Just behind them, the 61 of Jorge Prado, Red Bull Gas Factory Racing. Wasn't well in Belgium. He's now recovered. You would think, Jason Thomas, that being up at the sharp end here, Jorge Prado will use these first few laps just to push on and try and latch on to the likes of Geiser and the Yamahas ahead of him.
Yeah, I think he's going to probably want to get around Guillot quickly, but to Guillot's credit, he's been quick all weekend. He was quick in the qualifying race. He was quick in the warm-up this morning, so I don't think it's going to be an easy pass, which is probably what Prado is kind of thinking, but yeah, I think these early laps, you know, the track's in great in condition. They didn't have to add a lot of water to it, so they can probably put in their best laps here early.
Henry Jacobi, the JM Honda rider, out then on this opening lap. And he picked up a knee injury here in MX2 a couple of years ago before he ended up going into the MXGP class through this next section, through this right-left. Issue there for Maxim Renault, just coming up to a bit of a stumble into that turn. Maintains his lead, though. Right, let's take a look at the... over on, oh, that's Evans going down. So Evans picks himself up, rejoins the race. So the pole man with a lot of work to do. Meanwhile, working their way towards the end of lap 2, Maxim Renault, Jeremy Siwa, Glenn Coldenhoff separated by about 2.5 seconds. Tim Geiser, the championship leader, there in 4th place. And Valentin Guillot, Jorge Prado, Romain Febvre, Jonas Guadagnini and Fernandez, who both found their way past Watson and Van Donnick. Van Donnick now 12th, Watson ahead of him in 11th place.
Totally different story from yesterday. Mitch Evans just drama-free, great start, no problems. Today, down on the first lap. And then on the other side of that coin is Maxime Renault, who just looked like he was really struggling yesterday, couldn't find any rhythm. Now he's out front and looks great.
But also, you could say the same for Coldenhoff and Siwa. Siwa grabbed the whole shot and was down to 4th before the end of the lap, and he was in there with his 2 teammates right at the line, you know, at the end of the race. But I spoke to Glenn Coldenhoff after warm-up this morning, asked him how the wetter conditions you know, were, and he said, yeah. And I said, did you make any changes? Yeah, we changed some suspension settings and other things as well. So they've obviously got those bikes dialed. Brian Bogus working his way through traffic. He is just behind Watson at the moment. These two side by side in 12th and 13th. Boga's in a retrofit Husqvarna colourway from sort of the 80s, if you like, going after Ben Watson in white around the outside. And is he going to pick him off? No, not quite. There's Evans going through. Yeah, just ahead of him was Calvin Vlanderen. So both of them had really easy races, good starts yesterday, and the opposite of that today. And Beaton in there as well. So Beaton just ahead of Vlanderen. Meanwhile, Jorge Prado doing what we thought he would do, latching onto the rear wheel of Valentin Guillot. But Guillot is proving a tough nut to crack at the moment because he's not taking this one lying down. We know he's going to be good for at least half the race at this kind of pace, and then that's half the battle. You get clear, and if you do fade towards the end, obviously, hopefully you're still there and around about 6th, 7th place. And he looks the part. He doesn't look like he's out of place. He doesn't look intimidated at all, and that's probably just a byproduct of being up there all weekend long. He just feels like he's supposed to be running around in the top 10 now. And it's no surprise that he prefers hard pack to sand. Yeah, and you wonder if, you know, that Swiss background, the same as Jeremy Seewer, they look comfortable on these conditions, and this is what you would find in Switzerland. Tricky, low traction, rocky, and he just looks like he's right at home. So Maxime Renault continues to lead, but he's less than a second clear of his teammate at Monster Energy Yamaha, Jeremy Seewer, and this is that fight for first place between the 959 Renault, last year's MX2 World Champion, and Jeremy Seewer, who currently sits second in the standings at the moment. Glenn Koldenoff right there behind him in third, or just losing a little bit of contact with these two as Seewer going for broke here. Yeah, I think Seewer can smell a race win here. He's not really getting any pressure from behind from Geiser. I think he feels really comfortable racing with his teammates, and he's been coming on so strong lately. This is the time, if he can get around his teammate and make a break here, he could build a gap that he could just manage to the end. Mitch Evans has found his way past Jed Beaton, now up in the 17th place, while we concentrate on this battle for the lead between Renault and Seewer. Seewer looking more efficient, though, at the moment, and looking more relaxed. Yeah, I think he senses the opportunity here. He can obviously mark Geiser behind him. He knows Geiser had a big crash yesterday, so he's probably not in that, you know, win mode right now. And the race could get a lot easier for him if he can make a quick pass here. Dropping downhill then for the 4th time. Renault doing a good job of hanging on, but you can already see where Koldenoff is. He just lost that toe, and also Geiser hasn't gone with Koldenoff either. So these three guys out on their own at the moment, but two of them fighting for the lead. How much more of this can Maxime Renault withstand from his teammate Jeremy Seewer? That was a nice line, outside, inside cut back there from the number 91 in second place. Yeah, and I wonder how much of this is, you know, the track is in much better condition today, a lot more traction. Is that something that's helping the boys in blue, or is it something they made a bike change or a technique change? But they look completely different than they did yesterday afternoon. Well, Renault and Seewer separate by half a second as they hit the line, and that's just going to back and forth a little bit. Oh, he almost folded the front through the first turn, though, did Maxime Renault, chasing some traction. Wasn't there. Brent Van Donnick up to 10th. He's moved past Mattia Guadagnini into 11th. Evans now 15th. So Evans on a charge and looking really comfortable. He went down, and he is now well up into the inside the top 20 here is Mitch Evans. He was 31st on the first lap, don't forget, when he fell and picked himself up a few corners before where we are now on the racetrack. So impressive ride from Evans, who your pole man. Anyway, let's go down to pit lane. Here's Lisa with Louis Fosters, I believe.
Louis, yesterday we saw in qualifying session, Renault, Seewer and Koldenoff were all struggling, weren't they, with the track? Totally different story today. They're all up at the sharp end. What's made the difference? Have any changes been made to the bike? Tell us. Yes, yesterday, actually, all three were struggling with the bike setup. We did some adjustments yesterday after the qualifying race, and it looks that it's quite fine now, and they are doing really well. Best luck to you and the team. Thank you.
Yeah, as we've said in the booth here, Jason, that whatever changes they've made, clearly working, and it might just be the fact that and the combination of the ground and the dirt and the moisture that's in the ground just favouring these bikes. Yeah, they just look totally different. You could tell it just wasn't working, and it wasn't just one of them, it was all three. It was very atypical for Seewer to get a great start and move all the way back to 6th in a qualifying race like that, so you could tell something was just amiss. And clearly they've got that sorted out. So credit to the team and credit to the riders for also being able to
communicate whatever they needed to the team.
I was about to say, isn't it fascinating how riders do communicate that, and they say, this is what's happening, how do we work around that? And for the crew down here to be able to solve that problem and create this kind of result that we're seeing right here, because the mere mortal, you and I these days, you know, to sort of maybe relay that same information takes a little bit longer, or it's almost impossible to relay.
Yeah, and you need both sides to understand, because the rider is going to tell him what he feels, but he may not have the best idea of how to fix that. And then you need the engineer on the other side to be able to say, okay, this is what the rider's telling me, and these are the possible fixes that we can sort that out. So, yeah, this is what happens, though. You have the right combination, you get it together, and you have all three guys running around up front.
Roman Febvre, bottom of your screen in white, going after this fellow right here, Jorge Prado. These two now 6 and 7.
That was a really nice line by Prado there. I haven't seen anyone else use that, coming from the far right to the far left, and it's not really translating into moving forward, but it's him being creative, and as we move into the late into race 1 and race 2, lines that can really start to make a difference.
And maybe less bumps, less physical and all that. The deep ruts there just on the face of that first wave. But that's the part of the racetrack where Geiser fell, and obviously the Spice Boys had that on video actually, didn't they? If you've not seen it yet, MX Vice on their Insta post.
Yeah, it was interesting dynamic there yesterday. But you wonder kind of what's going through the mind of Prado and Febvre both here. They're losing touch with the leaders. They've been stuck behind Guillaume for going on 10 minutes now, and if they're going to make a move forward, if they want to go try to chase down some guys, they've got to do it pretty soon here.
Valentin Guillaume, IXS Hostetler Yamaha, number 92. Under attack now from Jorge Prado, Red Bull Gas Factory Racing, and the Spaniard charges down the inside and in the blink of an eye moves into 5th place. Good charging that from Jorge Prado. Now he has clear track. Now he has the 2.43 ahead of him.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was alluding to. It gets to a point where you start to lose sight of guys. You can see the gap back there, and that's going to raise the urgency. He probably got a message from the pit board like, hey, these guys are starting to, you know, you see them inching away from you. And if you want to be serious about any sort of podium contention at the end, you need to make a move now.
Maxime Renault up on the pegs, railing that outside line. Couldn't really do that yesterday. Sorry, Koldenhoff up on the pegs there, the 2.59, railing that outside line. But that was a nice line as well, because you couldn't really do that yesterday. And obviously that line has worked since they've reworked the track overnight.
Pretty nice ride from Renault here. He withstood the pressure that Sewer was kind of applying, and they seem to have dropped back into their own pace again. And a lot of times, especially when the track's rocky like this, you'll see a rider like Sewer make a surge up. If he can't get the pass, he'll drop back a little bit.
Actually, Koldenhoff is closing back in on Jeremy Sewer, and he's bringing Geiser with him. So 17, 18 minutes plus 2 laps to go. Geiser is just fancying his chances here. It's almost like he sat back and said, you know what, I'm the championship leader, and I'm ready to start, you know, making inroads. He just set his fastest lap of the race at 52.8, quicker than the 3 guys ahead of him, and he's got Prado in similar territory behind him in 5th place.
Yeah, and Prado set the quickest lap of anyone that last time around, so we'll see how the Yamaha guys kind of react to that, if they can get a little bit closer, because I think right now the Yamaha guys are comfortable. They don't feel any pressure. They're probably just trying to get the laps in at this point, and they'll sort it out towards the end. But if Prado and Geiser can raise that pace up, and these guys as well, you know, obviously Febvre wants to get into that mix as well, then everything starts to change.
And the other situation, as you said, you've got the 3 Yamahas, 1st, 2nd and 3rd. Geiser and Prado upping their game. Can Renault, Sewer, Koldenhoff do the same? Are they too comfortable sat there now? And have they been too comfortable for the first 7 laps?
Well, and I think Renault, he's only going to want to push as hard as he needs to. He's going to want to avoid mistakes, and if Sewer can't pressure him, he'll be happy to sit here and run 153s. But as the pace gets pushed up, if Geiser brings the pace and they all have to start running 152s, then the dynamic starts to change. You'll start to see more mistakes as that pace starts to get pushed.
Roman Febvre looking comfortable on this racetrack, and we know that he's got history around here. He's a former winner around here. Doesn't mind the back end getting a little bit loose, especially coming out of the turns on this hard, slick surface. He's in 7th place at the moment. I don't think he's too worried about what happened here a few years ago when he picked up that injury. I think he's put that out of his mind. He would have had all day yesterday to do that. But shame, you know, it's interesting that he's not got his usual sort of lightning starts though today.
Yeah, and I think he's just kind of sourcing it out right now, figuring out the track. He can look up and he can still see Prado. He probably wants to be further forward, but
look at this
see if he
going
can
on.
drop his lap times any.
Mitch Evans here, and he's right in the thick of it in 14th place. He's got Alberto Ferrato just behind him, and then a couple of riders ahead of him, Brian Bogers and Jeremy Van Hoorbeek. So directly ahead of the rider in the fluorescent colours is the Jerry man on the Beta STM Corsa machine as they head up through the waves and looking to make a move on Van Hoorbeek, and he slides his way down the inside. Evans is now into 13th place. And that's significant because he was the pole man yesterday. He won the qualifying race. He fell on the opening lap. He was down in 31st, and he's now back into 13th.
Well, all of the patience that the lead group is showing, and Mitch Evans has no time for any of that. He obviously felt like there was a podium in the cars today, and that first lap crash has derailed a lot of that. So if he can get back into the top 10 and maybe have a chance at a top 5 overall.
Mitch Evans, who said since Indonesia, Brother Rich has been helping him, he's been in his corner, and they've made massive gains on the handling of the bike and just everything, you know, him and the machine together. And he felt really comfortable yesterday with that win in the qualifying race. He was hoping for the same again today, but in terms of his riding, he's obviously feeling at one with the track because of the way that he's sided his way through the field, and he's now knocking on the door. He's not far off a 10th place.
Well, nothing says I need to go and I'm better than all the guys around me than aggressive moves like that, because you're just not waiting. It's almost disrespectful to the riders around you because you're being so aggressive with them. And keep in mind, your last year, 2 weeks ago, GP winner Brian Bogers is just ahead of them. So it's not like he's moving through back markers. These are all super elite, you know, factory level racers. Yeah, the standing construct Husqvarna there in the yellow. You've got the Pullman name on the front of the shirt. Of course, Torsten Pullman, the original clothing that they were representing there. But Mitch Evans charging downhill with Van Hoorbeek behind him. Then the rider in red is Ferrato, and Verlanderen. I'm surprised Verlanderen hasn't advanced further forward, but as he had some issues as well on this in this first race. But the Gavin Van Venrooy Yamaha rider down there in 16th, just ahead of Watson, Tixier, Tomcock and Jeri Havisto. But Evans has disappeared, hasn't he? He's going after Brian Bogers. He's got a nice line there that sort of saves a bit more time. And as Bogers goes to the outside, Evans cuts back, not able to close a gap down, but that's 11th place just ahead of him as well. Guadagnini on the second of the Red Bull Gas riders. 101 here now in the red, white and blue. We are getting up to that part of the racetrack, though, where gaps become bigger, the racing becomes more frantic, and the rider's a little bit more cute as well in terms of they hear what's coming to the left, they close down the door, and they're not afraid to launch an attack if you've just been passed. They want that place back as well. Yeah, and this track's really difficult to pass on. It's a really tough race to get a bad start or crash on the first lap on. You just see all the lines kind of funnel back into one. So if you're able to ride well defensively, you can hold somebody back for a really long time. Evans, bottom of the hill, going after Bogers. There's Van Hoorbeek in his final year, by the way. He announced on his social media just at the Belgian Grand Prix that it would be his final year, and his last race will be the FIM Motocross Nations. And Evans down the inside of Bogers. Great move that from the Australian. So Evans now up into 12th place, and he is not taking any prisoners. Watch this here, just hard on the brakes at the end of the straight. There was room enough, and he gets moved aside, does Bogers. Evans through and gaining another place now. But Bogers coming back for more. Didn't like that. But Evans closes down the door and hanging on to that 12th place for now at least. Guadagnini just ahead of him, look. And then just around the corner, Ruben Fernandez back, having missed Belgium with that crash in Czech Republic. And actually he missed Czech Republic as well. Didn't even line up for the races because he crashed in the time practice session on the Saturday, Ruben Fernandez. And it just shows you how deep this MXGP class is. You have Brian Bogers in 13th. You have Calvin Verlanderen in 16th. And these were arguably your fastest guys at the last time out in Lommel, and in different conditions and all that, and it's a global championship, but yeah, don't get a start. It doesn't come easy. The boys in blue are still leading the way, unchanged. Maxime Renault, Jeremy Seewer, Glenn Koldenoff, Tim Geiser up on the pegs for Team HRC, coming into land now in the fluorescent colours. He's still there in 4th place. What are the lap times? Pretty much even, I would imagine. 53.8, 0.9, 0.9, and a 54.2 for Geiser. So not too much in it.
And this is perfect territory for Geiser, isn't it? Normally just managing the situation possibly, or are we seeing the best from him at the stage?
I think with 10+ minutes to go, there's no reason to really panic yet. If the race is going to come to, great. But I think all of them are just trying to let the race play itself out, right? There's a lot of time left. There's no reason to force anything at the moment. You get down and 3-4 laps to go, you can kind of put in a sprint. But it's one of those things where it's such a long race, 35 minutes, and a lot of the race is just getting through the laps.
Oh, Bogas has been down as he rejoins the start straight area. He was in 13th place.
Yeah, and you wonder if he tried to get aggressive there to make a pass on Evans, or if that was just a mistake on his own.
Just looking at the side of Siwa's bike a moment ago. Look, something flapping. Is it side panel? Just through this next left look. Or is it just stickers, maybe graphics or something? I'm not sure, but something definitely flapping just behind the left leg on Siwa's machine. That's stickers, isn't it? Just graphics, I think. And that's probably just from riding backwards and forwards, you know, hugging the bike with the top of the boot. Just unusual to see that, but that looks like what it is, so nothing major. But he's closing in. It's not costing him any problems, or causing him any problems, look. Closing in on Maxime Renault. So you've got these two, a slight gap, and then Koldenhoff and Geiser. Track conditions almost perfect now. Yeah, it's dry underneath, but compared to what we had yesterday. But that will change for race 2 because they will have the sprinklers on, they'll water the track, get some more moisture in it. Might not be so favourable for the MX2 second race, but for these guys, we should have a near perfect racetrack.
Yeah, and we'll see how it shakes out. They're calling for more rain later in the day, so we'll see if that happens, or if it, you know, if it doesn't, they're going to have to actually add water to it because you can see it starting to dry out, and we don't want to get back to where we were yesterday.
It is predicted for MXGP race 2, but at the same time, if you were a track worker, you would say, well, even if the rain doesn't come, we need to put water down. And if it does rain and rain hard, the track can only get so wet anyway, so you just water, wouldn't you? Normally.
Dangerous game you're playing there, Paul. Yeah, but I think you have to. Yesterday it was really, really tricky because they let the moisture get away from them. So I think you hope for the best. Even with the amount of rain we saw in MX2 race 1, it wasn't too bad. So yeah, I would probably err on the side of more moisture.
Honda 114 rider Ruben Fernandez, number 70, missing in action for the last couple of rounds, but here he is hanging on to 10th place at the moment. Just behind him, the Red Bull Gas. We've got a rider down. It's Valandren, and Valandren has a problem. He's picking himself up and pushing that bike up the side of the track. So Valandren then.
And that would have been from the prior lap. He was behind this group.
Yeah, that was already a lap ago. So Kevin Valandren, problems for the Geben van Venrooy Yamaha rider then. But Fernandez, Guadagnini, Evans, I wonder how much energy Evans has had to exert in this race, coming from 31st. That's almost last because 33 riders lining up to get himself back into this kind of contention there. He's just knocking on the door for the top 10. Ruben Fernandez in that 10th place. Guadagnini in 11th position. He hasn't got that same hard charge that he had a couple of laps ago when he got into that 13th, and actually he's coming under pressure now from Ferrato. So Alberto Ferrato probably just latching onto the back of Evans, thinking, well, hang on a minute, where did you come from? Still no change here in the top 3, though.
Yeah, and you wonder who's going to kind of signal the move. I haven't seen anybody really do anything out of the norm yet. It seems like they're still content to just put in laps. I mean, they're starting to drop into the 155, so the pace has slowed a bit. But I think when you see somebody send that 153, you know, maybe even a low 154 is going to be the cue where everybody's going to start ramping intensity. Let's
not forget the last time we were here, 2019, a 1-2 for Glenn Koldenhoff, the Grand Prix winner, the last time we were here in Sweden. He's sitting there in 3rd place at the moment. He looks like he's got a motorcycle beneath him that is working well today compared to maybe what he had yesterday. I wouldn't write him off for putting a late charge in the next 6 minutes and taking it to these two.
Yeah, it's interesting how much has changed from yesterday. Even his demeanor in his pre-grid interview before the qualifying race, he wasn't very confident. You could see it in his body language, and just a totally different guy. Well, the whole team as well. Renault was arguably worse yesterday.
Jeremy Siwa here just a moment ago. Look, just having a bit of nothing. Really?
And that line kind of runs into a wall. So a lot of these, you know, the track has such a hard base to it, and that's, if it doesn't rain, it'll only get worse. You see we're starting to pick it up here a little bit. It'll be interesting to see what these lap times are this time. But this is as close as he's been in probably 10 minutes.
Well, in the sectors, he was same as Renault in Sector 1, same in Sector 2. He's pulled about 6/10 back in Sector 3. So overall, you would probably expect this lap to be slightly quicker than Maxime Renault, but depends on what happened in the final sector now. So 1:53.9, well, they're all exactly the same again. So anyway, they're saying 5 minutes to go on the board, and Ruben Fernandez has had an issue, and there's Bogas, so this is going to be 16th place, and Ruben Fernandez just circulating, taking a bit of time just to get himself back to normal, but going out then of 10th place, Ruben Fernandez. So that will promote Guadagnini to 10th and Evans to 11th.
Starting to see Seawer pick it up a little bit. And you know, it's really subtle, but you can see him pick up the throttle a little bit earlier than he had been, and it's really small. You can't get overly aggressive on this track because it just doesn't work. There's not enough traction for that, but it's just the demeanor, the body language. Is he getting, you know, braking later? Because I think at some point, urgency is going to set in. You're going to start running out of time, and it's not only about just getting there and making the pass. You have to actually set it up on this track. This track takes a lot of thinking, and you almost have to make a pass 2 or 3 turns ahead of time to actually execute it.
Well, this is probably about the 3rd time this race we've seen Jeremy Seawer decide to spring an attack on his teammate Maxime Renault, the race leader. Will he be successful this time around? He's got close once again. He's broken free from his other teammate Glenn Koldenoff there in 3rd place. As Valandren goes back, well, he was pushing that bike to the side of the track before, so they've obviously got it fired up, but out of the points doesn't make sense.
See Geiser responding to these two pulling away and trying to make a move on Koldenoff back there. So everything that we were talking about, it was kind of wait, go. Everyone's starting to make their move now.
Just under 4 minutes plus 2 laps to go. Here's Geiser all over the back of Glenn Koldenoff. The Honda rider wants to break up the Yamaha trio. He's got 4 minutes and 2 laps to work it out. He's getting closer, is Geiser.
Seawer had a really bad Sector 4 there and lost almost a full second there. So
Geiser, fastest in Sector 3 of the race, 27.1. So 8 tenths quicker than Maxime Renault through Sector 3 and 3 or 4 tenths quicker than Seawer. But yeah, Koldenoff, 28.2, a full second cost him there in that 3rd sector.
But he responded well with Sector 4, putting in his best of that section.
And you can see that because that gap's gone back out again.
Yeah, and all of them are just responding to each other, right? They're all putting in, they're starting to pick it up. And I think these last 3 or 4 laps are going to be full sprint laps. And those come with mistakes, though, which is why I think you're seeing the lack of consistency between sections right now.
Tim Geiser just had a bad 1st sector this time around. 1 second loss compared to the 3 guys ahead of him. Uphill through the waves.
It's just funny how it's all changed. Everybody was putting in same lap times, riding consistently, nobody doing anything. Now it's all over the place. Fastest sector, slowest sector. And that's just, they're raising the urgency. And this track doesn't really like urgency. It doesn't like you raising the pace, but you kind of have to if you want to try to win this race.
I think we lost our leaders for a bit. Maxime Renault fires back the other side of the Monster Energy Mountain there. He has about 1.5 seconds, or he did have at the split, over his teammate Jeremy Seawer. And Glenn Koldenoff has done well to respond to the threat from behind from Geiser, but Geiser won't be done yet. He still believes he can break the top 3. And we're talking about Geiser, who was 7th overall in Belgium, did not enjoy his time in Lommel, a round ago. Jeremy Seawer and Jorge Prado, 1st, 2nd, 3rd in the championship, they did not feature on the podium last time out. We are ticking away, though. 1.5 minutes to go. So we're going to be 3 laps to go then, aren't we?
Yeah, it seems like it, and no real change yet. Status quo's kind of stayed the same, even though the efforts have changed, but it's that yo-yo, right? It's mistakes. You see Seawer in Sector 4, he's in the 32s that time. Seems to really be struggling towards the end of each lap there. So, if Seawer can close it back down, you see him, this is one of his better sectors here. He's able to close back down to Renault. He's going to have to make a pass in one of his better sections here, because otherwise Renault continues to pull away at the end of the lap.
good responses from Koldenhoff, because he's managed to get a back marker, Hardy Ruziorg, between him and Geiser. Geiser again in sector 1, 29. He lost a full second in sector 1, and that means he's now got held up behind this back marker, and that's allowing the Yamahas to break free from the Honda man.
Well, and you just wonder, as we inch closer to Turkey, how does that change Tim Geiser's approach, right? He made his move, tried to get around Koldenhoff, it didn't work. Is he going to really be willing to take chances to close the gap back down, or is he going to be, okay, I'm, sitting here now? He would go into race 2 with a 118-point lead. That's got to be in his mental approach somewhere. And
he also knows that there's a second race to come, and he has been one of the most consistent in terms of podiums, probably him and Prado. 7 podiums in the first 7 rounds. And then he obviously missed 3, but then he's had 3 more. So, 10 podiums. That's not a bad strike rate, is it?
Remember, he had a big crash yesterday, too, so he's probably a little sore. He mentioned his hands and his toes are a little sore, too. So if it's not going to come easy, he's already kind of lost the toe to Koldenhoff here. Maybe he just settles for 4th.
Yeah, a little bit of pain in the fingers, a little bit of pain in the toes. And, maybe that is now just starting, because you can have painkillers, can't you? And sometimes that pain relief just starts to wear off in the last 10 minutes of the race. Maybe he's just feeling the effects of that. Who knows? But
I think he put in his best effort to make a move there, and it didn't work. And then when he dropped back a little bit, it's like, okay, am I going to really take a bunch of chances and a lot of risk to close that gap back down, or am I just willing to settle?
What did we say a few moments ago, like a few laps ago? Don't write Glenn Koldenhoff off. The first and second, when we were here in 2019 to win the overall, he's got himself right back onto the rear wheel of his teammate Jeremy Seewer, and with 2 laps to go, looking to pounce for second and quite even possibly a race win.
Well, you see Seewer just really jump down that hill. I mean, they've pretty much all pulled the pin here. They're all going for the race win, and you're going to see 2 full sprint laps here.
Haven't seen Yamaha 1, 2, 3 in the Premier class since the sort of 1990s, 92 with Donny Schmidt-Puzar and Bob Moore on the Chesterfield Yamahas. So this is something that's pretty significant.
Well, and just complete opposite of yesterday. We kind of hypothesized about it. It just didn't look right, and then Louis Boster's confirmed that for us. But everything that they seemed to struggle with yesterday is working much, much better today.
Question is, which one of these 3 will pick up the 25 points and the race win? Maxime Renault has been there right from the very first lap. His mum finally gets her first black plate, because that's what she wanted on her birthday. Instead, he gave her a Grand Prix victory in Spain. But will he be able to hold on and bring back 25 points this time around, or will it be Glenn Koldenhoff or Jeremy Seewer? Still undecided, but Maxime Renault looking like he is making for a break for it. And it's his race to lose with just a lap to go.
Well, it doesn't seem like anybody's close enough. This track has been notoriously hard to pass on this week, and you really need to be right on somebody's rear wheel to make it work. And, yeah, well, we see Seewer off the side of the track there. Not ideal. So I was thinking that maybe they had all started to settle a little bit, but jumping off the track was
it. Jeremy Seewer, and he looks like he was in trouble before he took, when he took off. So body language, maybe the wind.
Yeah, I saw the flag was pushing that way. So anything like that, if you start going the wrong way with the wind, it'll make it that much worse. It's probably going to need a clean pair of shorts for Moto2.
Final lap, Maxime Renault starts the lap a second and a half clear of Jeremy Seewer, who is 1.3 ahead of Glenn Koldenhoff. And at the moment, none of these 3 are prepared to sort of take that chance, it seems. But half a lap to go, you never know. You might see Seewer just get himself close onto the rear wheel of Renault and maybe threaten that win.
I think they're trying. I was looking just to see where the lap times were like 3 laps ago, and they were doing 155s. Now they're mid 153s. So the pace has been picked up. They're obviously trying much harder than they were, say, 5 minutes ago. They just really can't close the gap down. So that thing we talked about where are they just trying to get through the race and they're going to sort it out at the end is kind of coming true. But maybe both Seewer and Koldenhoff left it too late here.
Maxime Renault with just half a dozen corners or so to go. He has led every single lap of this first MXGP race here in Sweden at Uddevalla, and he's looking good and looking relaxed as well. Jeremy Seewer will have one last push because he's broken free from his other teammate Glenn Koldenhoff once more. But it's a Monster Energy Yamaha 1, 2, 3 with just a couple of corners to go now, and it does look like Maxime Renault, barring any mistakes in this penultimate corner here, and there was a slight bubble there. Jeremy Seewer may have seen that, but he's not close enough to react. Downhill for the final time. And Maxime Renault exits the final turn. He wins race 1 here in Sweden. That's a big win for him. Seewer second, Koldenhoff making it a Monster Energy Yamaha 1, 2, 3, and Louis Vosters and the team down there will be absolutely ecstatic. Tim Geiss across the line in 4th, and Jorge Prado goes 5th. Fevre moves into 6th on the final lap here, and here's how he did it. Dropping down Monster Energy Mountain, so he got better drive coming out of the turn. Still had some work to do, but the Kawasaki rider just managing to hold on, but Guyot all over the track there, just ran it off wide, and that was it. An easy pass in the end for Romain Fevre, but just crazy. And he's lost 3 positions as well. He goes from 6th place to 9th, Valentin Guyot.
2:11 on that final lap. Still a great ride from Guyot, but he's going to be kicking himself back at the paddock.
So Maxime Renault wins it from Jeremy Seewer, Glenn Koldenhoff. As we said, a Yamaha 1, 2, 3, Geiser 4th, Prado 5, Fevre 6, and Jonas 7, Van Donnick 8. Those two also benefiting from the mistake of Valentin Guyot. He just did not want to give up, did he? And that, showing that fighting spirit right the way to the end. You can't knock him for that, but it did not work out on this occasion.
See, Evans worked his way all the way up to 10th. Nice work by him. I'm sure he'll be looking for more in race 2.
Anyway, here's Lisa with Maxime Renault.
Maxime Renault looking confident, riding consistently. You were a totally different rider out there today.
Yeah, sure. Like I said, start is really the key here. So I got a good start, and yeah, straight away to the lead. I didn't quite got my black plate again, but yeah, I could manage to lead all the moto. Really smart riding. So happy for the team, 3 riders for the top 3. So it's amazing. Let's try to make the same in the second moto.
Good luck for the second race.
16 career race wins now for Maxime Renault. And it was a pretty immaculate ride from start to finish. He rounded out the first corner into turn 2 anyway, as the leader of the race. And he fended off the challenges from his 2 Monster Energy teammates as well, Jeremy Seewer and Koldenhoff. It was a Yamaha 1, 2, 3, but it was Maxime Renault who wins and takes 25 points. There's a photo. Official confirmation then, MXGP Race 1, a win for the Monster Energy Yamaha of Maxime Renault. His teammate Jeremy Seewer 2nd, and Koldenhoff was 3rd. Geiser for Team HRC 4th. Red Bull Gas Jorge Prado 5th. Romain Fevre, Kawasaki Racing Team 6th. And we had Jonas on the standing construct, Husqvarna, Van Donnick on the Riley Racing Yamaha, and Valentin Guyot, IXS Hostetler Yamaha. Then we had Evans, Ferrato, Guadagnini, Watson, Tixier, Bogas, with Van Horbik, Fernandez, Havisto, Jed Beaton, and Kevin Brumman rounding out the top 20. Take a look at the action once again. Here's what happens. MXGP Race 1. All 3 Yamahas getting traction, but who was it that grabbed the whole shot? Well, it was I think Valentin Guyot who did grab the black plate, and then Maxime Renault stormed up the inside to take over the lead. Then Seewer was there in 2nd, and Koldenhoff thought he got through into 3rd, but was denied until turn 3 when he found his way through. From there, those positions remained unchanged. That was Evans going down, and he picked himself up right in 31st place, and he had a good spirited ride through the field as well, as Maxime Renault weathered a quite hefty storm from Jeremy Seewer in the early stages of the race. Seewer desperate to get himself to the front. So too was Jorge Prado. This move down the inside of Valentin Guyot put him into 5th place. He then went after Tim Geiser as Mitch Evans was still carving his way through the pack. That move on Jeremy Van Horbik put him into 13th. And then on to Brian Bogas that put him into 12th place. And then Bogas had an issue, whether he fell or stalled coming out of the turn. Brian Bogas eventually came home in 15th place. Calvin Verlandren out of that battle then couldn't get fired up. And then Ruben Fernandez, who was in 10th position, eventually picked himself up in 17th on his first ride back from missing the last couple of rounds. Glenn Koldenhoff started to close in on his teammate Jeremy Seewer as he was being pushed by Tim Geiser, the 243. Final lap, Romain Fevre made this move on Valentin Guyot to move into 6th. The Swiss rider wasn't having any of it though. Red Mist came down, he went straight on into the red banners, and he lost 3 positions as a result of that. He eventually crossed the line in 9th. But it was a Monster Energy Yamaha 1, 2, 3 with Renault, Seewer and Koldenhoff rounding out the top 3 places with Geiser 4th and Prado 5th. Take a look at the foxhole shot, shall we? See how tight it was between Guillaume and Renault. Oh, about a week. Clear as day. Valentin Guillaume turned it into a 9th. It should have been a 6th, Valley. You know that. Anyway, he takes his first black plate of the season. Can he do it again in race 2, I wonder? Right, Jason and I talk you through some of the best moments of the race. But Jason Thomas, a fascinating first race. No change in the first 3, but what a transformation the last sort of 24 hours made between the guys that brought it home in the first 3 places.
Yeah, good job. We talked about that early on. They really needed to fix a lot of things from yesterday, and certainly did that. But the start was so important. We knew that going in, but really no passing amongst the top 5 almost throughout the entire race once Guillaume moved backwards a little bit.
Tim Geiser was steady. Obviously, there's a reason why he's got a 122-point lead going into the first race. He's done everything right. He's been the most solid, the most consistent. Made another good start, got himself into 4th, but wasn't really able to affect anything else that went around him in the first 3 positions. But he is riding a little bit wounded, and as we've seen from Honda over the past couple of years, they never give you the full story, so we don't really know how much of a setback he had going into that first race.
Yeah, and I think he was okay. He put in efforts at times to try to make moves forward, but we're nearing the end of the season. 3.5 rounds to go now, and I think he's very comfortable with a 100-plus point lead.
We didn't see the best from Mitch Evans. Obviously, the whole shot, the qualifying race winner going down on the first lap, but he put in a spirited ride to get to 10th. He has the pace to be a menace in race 2, doesn't he?
He does. Obviously, the start helps a lot, but he looks the part, right? A 9th is really a misnomer for how well he rode.
Well, some of the best moments then coming to an end here. And what a photo opportunity. Yep, chapeau, Mr. Louis Vuitton, Mr. Louis Vosters. That was MXGP race 1. We're back in just over an hour's time, so hope you can join Jason Thomas and I for race 2, MX2, and of course MXGP race 2. Thanks for watching for now. We'll see you then. Bye for now.